Welcome to the SVG-TV News. It's Friday, December 15. I'm Khalil Cato with the details. A joint declaration has been issued by the leaders of Guyana and Venezuela following a series of meetings here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines yesterday at the Argyle International Airport, the AIA. Significantly, President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and President of Guyana, Irfan Ali, agreed that directly or indirectly, Guyana and Venezuela will not threaten or use force against one another in any circumstance, including those consequential to any existing controversies between the two states. They also agreed to meet 3 months later in Brazil for further discussions on the issue. The joint declaration of Argyle for dialogue and peace between Guyana and Venezuela over the Essequibo border controversy was read to the media last night in both English and Spanish at a news conference following a day of tense talks between the presidents, other CARICOM leaders, and regional and international diplomats. SVG's Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who helped to facilitate Thursday's meetings, read the declaration in English.
Guyana and Venezuela declared as follows. 1. Agreed that Guyana and Venezuela directly or indirectly will not threaten or use force against one another in any circumstances, including those consequential to any existing controversies between the two states. 2. Agreed that any controversies between the two states will be resolved in accordance with international law, including the Geneva Agreement dated February 17, 1966. 3. Committed to the pursuance of good neighborliness, peaceful coexistence, and the unity of Latin America and the Caribbean. 4. Noted Guyana's assertion that it is committed to the process and procedures of the International Court of Justice for the resolution of the border controversy. Noted Venezuela's assertion of its lack of consent and lack of recognition of the International Court of Justice and its jurisdiction in the border controversy. 5. Agreed to continue dialogue on any other pending matters of mutual importance to the two countries. 6. Agreed that both states will refrain, whether by words or deeds, from escalating any conflict or disagreement arising from any controversy between them. The two states will cooperate to avoid incidents on the ground conducive to tension between them. In the event of such an incident, the two states will immediately communicate with one another, the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, the Community of Latin American and the Caribbean, CELAC, and the President of Brazil to contain, reverse, and prevent its recurrence.
The Venezuelan and Guyanese leader also agreed to immediately establish a joint commission of the foreign ministers and technical persons from the two states to address matters as mutually agreed.
An update from this joint commission will be submitted to the presidents of Guyana and Venezuela within 3 months. 8. Both states agreed that Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, the pro tempore president of CELAC, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, the incumbent CARICOM chairman, and President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva of Brazil will remain seized of the matter as interlocutors, and the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres as observers, with the ongoing concurrence of Presidents Irfan Ali and Nicolas Maduro. For the avoidance of doubt, Prime Minister Gonsalves' role will continue even after St. Vincent and the Grenadines ceases to be the pro tempore president of CELAC, within the framework of the CELAC Troika +1. And Prime Minister Skerrit's role will continue as a member of the CARICOM Bureau. 9. Both states agreed to meet again in Brazil within the next 3 months or at another agreed time to consider any matter with implications for the territory in dispute, including the above-mentioned update of the Joint Commission. 10. We express our appreciation to Prime Ministers Gonsalves and Skerrit, to President Lula and his personal envoy Celso Amorim, to all other CARICOM Prime Ministers present, to the officials of the CARICOM Secretariat, to the CELAC Troika, and to the head of the CELAC PTP Secretariat in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, His Excellency Dr. Douglas Slater, for their respective roles in making this meeting a success. 11. We express our appreciation to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for their kind facilitation and hospitality at this meeting, dated this 14th day of December 2023.
And some members of the media were at the airport for more than 12 hours covering the high-level talks between the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Irfan Ali. As we hear in this report, chaos ensued several times for the media during the day.
The media flocked to get closest to the president to ask their questions. President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and President of Guyana, Irfan Ali, who arrived under tight security, were received by Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, facilitator of the dialogue. The only time President Maduro spoke to the media was when he was asked a question before going into talks with President Ali.
Será la victoria de la paz de nuestra patria, Venezuela, y de la patria grande también.
With the rush to get into the airport, it seemed too much to handle for security. Meantime, outside, there were military jets on the tarmac, with one that read El Essequibo es nuestros, meaning the Essequibo is ours. President Ali, during his briefing with the media after the Phase 2 talks, was asked what the signage means.
This tells you. I don't have to think what it means. We know what this means. This is Guyana. All of it belongs to all of Guyana. This is the map of Guyana. No narrative, propaganda, decree can change this.
The media was back and forth, not wanting to miss out on any activity by President Ali or President Maduro. Prior to the dialogues in SVG, some media organizations were not informed of the location and time of the meetings, which we were told was done for security reasons. After more than 12 hours at the airport, the final press conference started at 8:45 p.m. with Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves apologizing for the delay before reading a joint declaration of Argyle for dialogue and peace between Guyana and Venezuela. St. Vincent and the Grenadines will host the meeting with the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, CELAC, next year as SVG hands over the presidency to Honduras. Prime Minister Gonsalves had said that the just concluded dialogue would be used as a rehearsal for the upcoming summit. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
Policymakers and agriculture advisors were expected to meet here today with major lending institutions. A news release from the Ministry of Agriculture says the engagement follows the comprehensive budget consultations undertaken by the government in preparation for the estimates of revenue and expenditure for 2024, which included lending institutions, and as such, an additional meeting targeting enhancements in the food production sector was scheduled. Emphasizing the crucial role of the private sector as a catalyst for business development, expansion, and sustainability, the news release quoted Minister of Agriculture Soboto Caesar as saying, without capital from the private sector, they will not be able to expand production in fisheries and agriculture to satisfy the growing demand. Minister Caesar further noted that whilst many countries are still grappling to transition from a monocrop, St. Vincent and the Grenadines' food production sector continues to show the resilience needed to guarantee food and nutrition security and to create an income for all parties. The ministry says the expected outcomes of today's meeting with the lending institutions are as follows. 1. Delivery by the Ministry of Agriculture of a revolving fund model that incorporates an automated deduction system and guarantee repayment of loans. 2. Information from lending institutions on the feasibility of expanding loan portfolios dedicated to food producers, which include farmers, fishers, and agro-processors. And 3. Establishment of provisional schedules or timelines for the activation of the aforementioned revolving fund. The ministry says the overall goal or objective is to ensure that in 2024, farmers are able to obtain the necessary capital to increase production and productivity, noting that the growing hotel sector, demanding large quantities of food, and the increase in demand for the export of livestock, fish, and root crops will be pivotal in propelling the nation's food system. Inmates at His Majesty's Prison showcased their skills and creativity today at an exhibition outside the Kingstown Prison facility as part of the 2023 Prison Week of Activities. The week, observed annually, seeks to highlight the work being done to reform the inmates. In an interview with SVG-TV News, inmate Lesroy Richardson said participating in the programs offered at the prisons affords them the opportunity to learn a skill and create future employment opportunities for themselves.
I'm involved in every one of the projects that's out here. The wine racks, the save-outs, everything, pretty much. Everybody pretty much are involved in the same thing. Well, usually we get our materials from the shop, the prison shop. Sometimes whatever material is left back, we get to use them to build these projects. These are like 1/4-inch plywood and 1/2-inch plywood. These are like 1-bys that we usually rip down and we route them and stain them accordingly. Yeah. It gives you an opportunity to learn how to do these things, because when you now come out of prison, one of the hardest things to do is to get employment within the community. So by learning a trade within prison, it gives you an opportunity to go out and be an entrepreneur. So you don't have to wait on employment. You could actually create job employment. Enjoy the Christmas, stay safe, keep the alcohol at a minimum, and keep the violence definitely at an absolute minimum.
Female prison officer Tanis voiced that the aim of the exhibition is rehabilitation. And she added that despite the prisoners being offenders serving sentences, there is still hope. And as a result, rehabilitation works are to assist in reintroducing them into society. Tanis said there is a lot of talent behind the prison walls, noting that some of the inmates can transform simple resources into unique craft.
Even though we have offenders against the law, there is still hope at the end of the day. So we're trying our best to reintroduce them to society, even though they would have committed offenses. Things that they might encounter is the time, because they're not out here every day and they're not out here whole day. They work within a certain frame, a certain time period. So I guess that's the only challenge that they could speak about, because the public is very generous to them. We have the full support from them. So there's a lot of talent behind the walls. Persons may have developed the ones that they didn't even know that they have. I mean, a man could take a piece of wood, a piece of lumber, and craft it into something, and that in itself speaks volume. Make it something that's worthwhile, putting up for display. My tip to the public is to spend wisely, because sometimes December might have more days added to it than normal. Limited cash and use good, and keeping safe and within good company as well.
Inmate Alana Hudson said she paints as a way of expressing her emotions and shared with our news team a few of her paintings that were on display at today's exhibition. Hudson also shared a Christmas message to the Vincentian public and advised young people to make wise decisions for the season and beyond.
You see, I have a tiger. I don't really have a subject or like a title to my pieces. I just do as I feel. Yeah, however I feel at the moment, that is what I do. So we have this one that says what eyes don't see. And you can kind of see the concept. The head is cut off and the heart basically seeing everything. The heart does feel pain. That was basically the idea I was trying to get out of it. And the tiger, it was just basically roaring for your emotions. Yeah. Since I was very, very small, around like 5 or 6. For me, it's for expression, but sometimes I do stuff for other people as well. So basically for people pleasure then. Well, as you know, I'm not in my own space, so sometimes it's a little difficult maneuvering myself to actually place the canvas to get the proper lighting and all of that. So that would be my only difficulty. And sometimes it's kind of mental block because of the place where I am. To stay away from violence, to not let your emotions get the best of you, to think before you act, and to make wise decisions.
Prison Week 2023 will climax on Sunday with the annual Prisons Concert at the Solidarity Incorporated Car Park. 2023 has been one of the years in which Rest in Peace, or RIP, have been seen on social media more than ever before. This is according to psychologist Dr. Joselle Miller, who was a guest on NBC Radio's Heart to Heart program on Thursday discussing coping with grief at Christmas. Dr. Miller said grieving is a normal process that people should give themselves permission to go through, noting that people often miss more than their deceased loved ones during the holidays.
So it's important then to figure out how can we cope during this time. One thing I would say, give yourself some grace, meaning that there are moments when you will definitely have to be honest with yourself and step back from all of the activities, the traditions, the routines, things that might be feeling a bit overwhelming for you in that moment. You just have to step back from that and brace yourself, compose yourself, and figure out how to take the next step. I know that especially for adults and children, there's a difference in terms of how they approach these holidays and how they celebrate. And being an adult, part of what you have to deal with is probably dealing with your own emotions, where you may want to pull back and step back and not do anything, but then you also have to make it special for the children who themselves are seeking avenues in order to feel better and to be able to process all of their grief in such a way that it doesn't rob them from their own happiness and those happy moments that they can have.
In regards to coping strategies, Dr. Miller said as a family, it is important to have conversations about approaching the Christmas season while grieving the loss of loved ones.
Talk about it. Talk about how you want to approach the holiday, how you want to spend Christmas. You may have had some family traditions before, even plans before, and now you have to ask yourself whether these plans are going to come to fruition, whether or not these are things that you still want to do, and you have a conversation, be open with each other about how you're feeling and what you think you can manage or what you can't manage. Also, bear in mind that you have to be empathetic and gracious towards each other because persons grieve differently. So you may find that even as you're having this conversation, some persons might be, yes, let's do this, let's do that, and you might not feel as if you want to. Do not become angry in that moment with that person who wants to push ahead and to do certain things as was previously planned. It is now that you have to come to a compromise and let each other understand what you can and cannot manage.
Noting that grief is often a physical experience, Dr. Miller said it can also affect a person physically and shared some advice on how persons can practice self-care.
Meaning that it can affect you physically. Some persons may not be sleeping well, or you might not be eating, or you might be eating too much, or whatever the case is. You still have to practice some level of self-care. For those who are having difficulty sleeping, if it is that you're not able to sleep for the long 6, 7, 8 hours, but you can get naps here and there, let's say you're at home, then take the naps, take what you can get. Be mindful that you still need to eat. You need to eat something and hydrate yourself. So even during those sad, down moments, make sure that you're taking the time for self-care. It's important as well for us to recognize our support system. And I always say to persons, see if you can identify at least 5 persons that you can call upon at any point that you know would be there regardless to what. If you can't meet 5, at least 3 persons. And it is one thing to have persons on your list to say, yeah, Johnny's on my list, Giselle is on my list, whatever. But every time I call Johnny, he doesn't answer or he doesn't show up on time. Then you probably would want to get somebody else on that support system.
Right. The SVG Christmas and 9 Mornings Festival will officially get underway at Heritage Square in capital Kingstown tomorrow morning. The activities that usually capture the masses are being held under the theme celebrating a unique Vincentian tradition. In an interview on radio today, Chairman of the SVG Christmas and 9 Mornings Committee, Orandi Bomani Charles, said everything is in place for the staging of this year's festival and is encouraging locals and visitors to support the various activities not only in capital Kingstown, but in communities across the country, which are hosting 9 Mornings activities, including the 9 Nights of Lights at the Botanical Gardens, which begins this evening.
Pleased to announce that we are officially beginning the season, the festival 2023 9 Mornings Festival tomorrow morning, the 16th of December, which runs everyone to come down. It's 9 mornings. We're going to have a great time at Heritage Square. You're going to see some new initiatives. We are filling the space with happiness, joy, laughter, wholesome family entertainment for all ages. We're welcoming on board some new sponsors this year. And we're also taking this opportunity to invite everyone to, during the season, venture out into the other communities. There'll be about 55 different communities engaged in 9 mornings, or the Christmas lighting up, or Christmas community activities across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we are hoping that this year we'll have bumper crowds attending all the various activities.
And the Career 9 Mornings Committee launched its Christmas and 9 Mornings Festival on Thursday evening at Davis Square under the theme, Through the Difficulties, the Star Shines at Christmas. Delivering the word at the launching event, Pastor Ezra Cumberbatch encouraged residents and Vincentians on a whole to seek God this Christmas.
The difference between the story of Fisher and what Isaiah is saying is that the treasure that Isaiah is telling us to seek is not silver and gold, neither is it lost pearls, but Isaiah is challenging everybody, young and old, rich or poor, black or white, saint or sinner, to seek God, seek Jesus Christ. And he is someone far more valuable than silver and gold. The songwriter and Peter and John said, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I unto thee. And my word, my challenge to you tonight, I may not have silver or gold to give you, but I give you Jesus tonight. And Isaiah says, seek God while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near.
Also addressing the gathering was Area Representative Sinclair Prince, who said that given the importance of 9 mornings to the Vincentian culture, they must do their part to keep it alive.
I know the world is changing. The world is changing, and 9 mornings is no longer what it used to be. But I hope that the youngsters who have come year after year to Career, that you have been learning something, and that the older ones, of course, have been teaching you that we will keep this thing alive. I like also to congratulate Jenny and the rest of the team for persevering in putting this activity together again for another year. Put your hands together for them. It is not easy, I'm telling you. Just to get the lights, then to design it, then to put it up, all right? And to do it every morning, it takes a labor of love. And there are a lot of people who would just like to see it up, but they won't help. They themselves have to do all the work. So I'm asking you, the audience, please come out on mornings and enjoy the festivities. Of course, we know what the mornings mean with respect to Christmas, and we know about goodwill to men, peace on earth. And we ourselves have to be grateful to God for the peace that we have now. Because right now, in Ukraine, they are at war. Right now in Israel, there's a war, and you see it on your television screens. Right now in the Congo in Africa, there's a war. The Rohingya people of Burma, there's no way for them to sleep. There are people right in the UK who have moved out because of war. But here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have peace, and we have to thank God for that. And we hope it is kept like that.